Hey everyone, it's Steven. Today I have the 2016 Lexus ES350. You guys might be wondering why I'm reviewing a 6-year-old car, but that is because this is my car. I've been daily driving this for the past 6 years, and I wanted to talk through what it's been like to live with, kind of give you a quick overview about the vehicle, and see, if this is something you might be interested in purchasing used in the market right now. So I'm actually going to be selling this in about a month. I'll be getting a new car, so stay tuned for the review on that. I don't want to spoil the surprise on that one. So some quick numbers about this car. This MSRP is at about $40K, and I bought this for about $45,000. I got some new packages and stuff like that that gave me ventilated seats. Very nice for hot days like today. And also, of course, you get things like nice leather. You do get standard, blind spot monitors, rear cross traffic alert, all of the, safety suite that we would expect. But back in 2016, it definitely wasn't as common. This car comes with a 3.5-liter V6 that makes 268 horsepower and 248 pound-feet of torque. That's actually pretty good, especially in 2016. That was actually pretty fast. It goes 0 to 60 in about 6.8 seconds, which you really wouldn't expect from such a big boat like this. This engine is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission with front-wheel drive. This actually wasn't even offered with all-wheel drive when I bought it. In the new generation in 2019, they actually started offering all-wheel drive with the ES350, which has a weaker engine and is a pretty different car and has a lower starting price as well. So if you want all-wheel drive, you'll have to go for that. And to quickly cover fuel economy numbers, you get 21 city, 31 highway for a 24 combined miles per gallon. Not bad in this class, it's pretty average. Compared to competitors like the BMW 5 Series, you've got Acura TLX, a very common competitor to this as well. You also got the Audi A6. That was actually the car that I was cross-shopping with this one back in 2016. This one kind of won me over with the looks and the red paint, honestly, and the cheaper starting price. So like I said before, the front fascia is a huge reason of why I bought this car, because I still think it looks fantastic to this day. You've got some nice sleek headlights. That is definitely one thing that Lexus has started doing really well with these kind of like check mark type of patterns on it. And you do have LED headlights with daytime running lights, and that looks really nice. The white lights during the day definitely looks a bit more luxurious. Going along the side profile of this car, you've got some nice 17-inch alloy wheels. I think they look pretty cool. They are a different package than the original wheels you get with the car, so at least these are a bit more special, which I really like. Otherwise, I mean, from the side, you can kind of see how big this car is. I think that's one of the quickest things you'll notice is like, it is a very long car, and you do, like I said before, get a lot of rear passenger legroom. And then we'll just move over to the rear here really quickly. The trunk is actually pretty impressive. That's one thing that impressed me too, is because you don't normally get too much space in the trunk, but this one comes with 15.2 cubic feet of cargo space, and it's actually quite deep as well. I've got a nice cargo net here, and you can fit a decent amount of things. One thing to be cautious about though is that you can't put down the back row seats. So if you want to fold those down and get more space like some other cars allow you to do, especially SUVs, you can't do that with this one. So 15.2 cubic feet of cargo space is going to be the max you ever get here. I do also really like the taillight designs. I think they look pretty modern and sophisticated. You've also got some nice chrome badging. I think that part looks pretty classic in a luxury vehicle like this. And the last thing I want to point out is these parallelograms that they have for these exhaust tips. They are, of course, just compartments, but they look pretty nice. Nothing sporty, as you would expect from a boat like this. All right, let's go into the interior of this car, and I'll show you guys around really quickly. So, it's a nice classic interior, I'd say, for a luxury car. You've got some nice wood trim here on the sides. I really think that accentuates the nice black and these gorgeous gray seats. The gray seats were the other part I really liked. So I really love this light gray in combination with that Matador red on the outside. I think it looks very nice. Definitely one of my favorite combinations out there for a Lexus vehicle. You've got the classic analog clock in the middle to show you that it's a luxurious car, right? You do have a 7-inch infotainment screen display here, but it is not a touchscreen. Obviously, I wouldn't want this to be a touchscreen, pretty hard to reach from here, but you control it through this rotary dial here, which it works fine. I'm really not the biggest fan of it. Like, you can go into the menus from here, but you see how laggy it is? Like, it is not a good infotainment display, but back in 2016 it was decent. So you can kind of click through things. You see these menus, they all look pretty old. You can see they're very similar to Toyota's products. And yeah, I mean, otherwise, for a 2016 car, you do have some pretty nice luxurious features, right? You do have this really nice setup right here. I really, really like this. That was one of my favorite things about this, is like, it's really hot, is I just love the display here. You have the digital display of the temperature. It's very easy to touch this without having to look, right? So while you're driving, it's really easy to change the temperature, things like that. Start, stop button, really, really big and easy to hit. Heated steering wheel, physical button right there, and then you have your ventilated seats and heated seats. So really easy. They have three little like dashes here essentially, so you can kind of see you know, what level of ventilation you want. So really easy to use, and for both front passengers, it's really, really easy. You have sport mode, which actually turns your middle display red. And you have eco, which turns it a little blue, and then you can just push it in for normal. So yeah, I mean, this car does have sport mode. It does tighten up the steering a little bit. That's pretty much it. Holds your revs a little higher, but definitely not any semblance to an actual sporty car, I would say. But yeah, otherwise the interior, pretty normal. Like, I would say it looks good. Oh, I wanted to mention the steering wheel. Also something I really love. I really think Lexus does fantastic steering wheels. I love the wood here. Again, it just really matches everything here. And I think, like, this just looks so nice. Like, honestly, I don't appreciate the cabin enough because this is my daily driver, but I really, really like this. It looks really, really nice on camera here. The steering wheel is also just very comfortable. The leather here is extraordinarily comfortable, super good for long car rides. You can kind of see, like, these buttons are a little faded here because this is what I use to skip track. You can also use these buttons to skip track as well, which is kind of cool. And the button right here is your favorites button, which I actually didn't even realize until pretty recently, but you can kind of go through a few other menus, and then if you click this, it'll go back to audio. That's what I have my favorite set on right now. But yeah, so you've got some other menus here. This is just going to display your vehicle settings. You can kind of configure a few small things here. Most of it's done in the actual display up there. But otherwise you've got, you know, language, some basic things here, nothing too much here. But if you go to this one, this is what shows you a lot of other stuff. So you can see I just filled up yesterday and I've got 322 miles of range left. So not the largest tank, but you do get pretty good mileage, right? So kind of just going through these things, you can kind of see really simple, basic things, you know, kind of what you would expect from a car from 2016. Definitely not a fully digital display, but it works out well enough, right? Otherwise, I really want to emphasize how comfortable these seats are. I really, really like these. They aren't the most bolstered, as you can see. Definitely not a sporty car in any means. And you do have these nice, like, Lexus floor mats here, which, I don't know, just overall, it's a pretty nice interior. You do have this nice leatherette material here, and also the same thing on the door panels, essentially. So the side armrests are essentially going to be leatherette, and the rest is kind of hard plastic. So I'll show you on this side here. Essentially, this is all just going to be hard touch plastic, so definitely nothing too luxurious about those. I also didn't get the Mark Levinson sound system, which I honestly regret because I hear great things about that. But the sound system in this base car is actually not too bad. I definitely think it's better than some of the other competitors in 2016. All right, let's hop into the rear of this car really quick. Again, lots of legroom. This is my normal seat position, and tons of legroom in the back here. One thing I did want to show you guys is that you do have a nice little moonroof up here, so definitely not a full panoramic one, but it gets the job done, and you can actually open that as well, so kind of nice on some nicer days outside. And otherwise, wanted to mention there is no sunglass compartment up there, so that really bothered me when I first got this car. I just keep them in this little compartment now, but I realized that most cars are kind of trending to getting rid of sunglass compartments, which is very unfortunate in my opinion. But yeah, otherwise you've got some storage here. I don't think I've ever put anything in these before. You've got that same wood outline in there. And yeah, otherwise it's fine. These back seats, like, I would say it's usable for 3 people. I have definitely had 3 passengers in the back, but you know, the middle seat is definitely not the most comfortable. You don't have a huge hump here like some other cars do, so at least that's the nice part. But otherwise, yeah, the rear looks fine. I do really like these seats. They're still very comfortable, high quality, and yeah, overall the rear is not a bad place to be. Okay guys, now I really want to talk through what it's been like to drive this car for the last 6 years. Like I said, this has been my daily driver, so really trusty and reliable car. First thing I want to emphasize, I have not had a single issue with this car. 6 years of driving this car. I will say I follow a pretty strict maintenance schedule. I pretty much always bring it essentially every 5,000 miles. That's what Lexus recommends, and they do all the typical things. And I think that's really paid off for me because I have not had a single issue with this car in terms of anything breaking down. Like, literally, I've never had to take it to a shop for anything, never had to take it into the dealership to get anything checked out. Everything works as expected, which is really, I think, something I took for granted, right? I always hear people about, you know, German luxury cars and stuff like that having issues, and I just really am happy that this car has had no issues for 6 years. So that legendary reliability from Toyota, you know, Honda, what you would expect from the Japanese automakers, it still holds true, and I've definitely experienced that as well. So one of the interesting things that I was considering when I bought this car is, should I get this or just a souped up Avalon or Camry, right? A top trim Camry or a top trim Avalon is pretty much the same thing as this car, but really when it came down to it, the Lexus actually offered a lot of standard features that I really appreciated, and ultimately made me want to get the Lexus instead. So I think it was a really good choice. I do think there is a huge gap between the Toyota products and Lexus in terms of the actual finishes in the cabin. I think that's the biggest thing, right? This cabin is very quiet. Like, for a 2016 sedan, this car has such little road noise, such little wind noise. It is such a great upscale cabin, and I really don't think you can say the same thing for the Avalon or the Camry. The Avalon and the Camry are great vehicles in their own regards, but they're still not going to be the same luxury quality that Lexus gives you. And I think Lexus kind of provides that throughout all of their vehicles, right? Like, you can always kind of consider, do you want to get a top trim RAV4, or do you want to get something like the NX or the RX, right? And I really think Lexus is a step above that, and I'm glad they have that reputation. One thing I also wanted to mention is build quality. I think that's one thing that's really impressed me with this car, is that, you know, when I started looking at other cars, I was always like, there's some, like, you know, creaks and rattles, and in like a $40,000, $50,000 vehicle, you definitely don't want that, right? But the more I drove other cars, the more I realized that I was really taking it for granted that my car doesn't have any of that sort of stuff. This car has a really good quality finish, and I think Lexus does a great job. You don't often hear about Lexus breaking down, or, you know, things not being finished, or, you know, panel gaps, things like that, right? Overall, this car is just a good value because it's something that you can keep for a very long time, and you can trust it to be very reliable. I put on about 50,000 miles on this over the past 6 years, and like I said, have never had a single issue. Overall, I expect that most people who are planning on purchasing a used 2016 Lexus ES350 are probably people who just want a quiet car, right? There is no semblance of sportiness in this car. That's one thing I want to really emphasize. I will say it's not slow, right? Like, it's definitely not slow. The powertrain does a good job getting it up to speeds. I have no issues passing people on the freeway and stuff like that. 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds. It's really not that bad, but it just doesn't have sporty handling in the slightest, right? Like, when I'm going around corners, it feels like everything's about to turn over. Not really, it's not an SUV, so it has a low center point of gravity, but I mean, it's just overall, like, this is not a sporty car. This is meant for quiet comfort. Honestly, sometimes it's a little too quiet in my opinion. It's like a little too comfortable because I can definitely get tired on long road trips and stuff like that, but I have really enjoyed getting this, and I think back when I bought this, I was at a point in my life where I really wanted just a quiet cruiser to take me to work. Definitely now I would consider a more sporty vehicle, so that's going to be a little different, but if you want a quiet car, that's going to be the best option for you, is something like this, right? So overall, I wanted to keep this review pretty short. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'll still have this car for another like 2 months or so. Actually, by the time I upload it, I probably won't though. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer anything about this car. Please check out my other car reviews up here and subscribe down here for more content every 3 weeks. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and let me know how you liked my car. All right, bye guys.